Okay, so the supplies we're going to need for this woodland animal pumpkin craft is, of course, some pumpkins. You can find these at your local Michael's craft store this time of year. You'll also need some felt, which I am using as the primary material to decorate my pumpkins with. I'm also using some heat transfer vinyl here. To add some of the more intricate details that are hard to cut out in felt, I'm going to be using some heat transfer vinyl for things like the nose, the ears, the eyes, to place over the felt pieces, and I will be using my Easy Press Mini in order to get the heat transfer vinyl onto the actual felt. You can also use a regular Easy Press of the larger size. That will work for you as well. You're going to need a standard grip mat to cut the heat transfer vinyl out. You'll also need a fabric grip mat to cut out your felt. And you'll also need some other Cricut tools like the spatula, some weeding tools, and a pair of scissors on hand. You'll need a glue gun to be able to glue your felt to your pumpkins. You may also need a box cutter or an X-Acto knife to be able to get your pumpkin stem cut off of the top. You may also want to have some spray paint. I am going to be doing a fox, a raccoon, and a deer. And the fox is naturally orange, so I just purchased some orange pumpkins for that. But you may want to purchase some white pumpkins for the raccoon and the deer, and then also get some spray paint in a complementary color for the more natural color of the deer and the raccoon's body. So I have like a tan here and a gray that I will be spraying some of my pumpkins with for those specific animals. You may also want to have some fabric stiffener. That is optional, but if your felt is super thin, then you may need to have some fabric stiffener to just get the tail and the ears to stand up a little bit more, and I'll show you more about that in the video. And lastly, of course, you will need your Cricut machine. Cricut Maker or Cricut Explorer will work just fine for this project, and that is what I am going to be using to cut out all of my materials here and be able to create this super cute and fall-friendly craft. So the first thing we need to do is we need to cut our materials. I'm going to start with the felt, and I'm going to place that onto the fabric mat. You're going to want to use complementary colors to whatever animal you might be designing. And if you're loving these templates that I'm using here, you can go ahead and find them linked in the blog post that goes with this video. Make sure you remove any tags on your felt so that it cuts all the way through, and go ahead and just place it onto your Cricut mat. You want to consider the size of your pumpkin and the size of your animal, so keep those pieces of the face proportional to the pumpkins that you decide to use. That might vary based on everybody's craft and their preference. Make sure to select felt and the appropriate tools inside of Cricut Design Space. Go ahead and load your mat and let it do its work. So I get all of my pieces cut out, my vinyl as well as my felt, and for the felt pieces like the tail and the ears, I just take a little bit of fabric stiffener and I just give them a good spray. Now, your fabric stiffener is going to take maybe up to 24 hours before the fabric fully stiffens, so just think about that in terms of the time of your project. So just give it a spray a few times, flip it over, and do the same thing on the other side, and then set it aside and let all the pieces set up and dry. While your pieces are drying, go ahead and weed all of your vinyl. I've done almost all of my vinyl weeding, and the pieces that I focused the most on for vinyl were like the eyes and the ears and the little details that were a little bit difficult to cut out in felt. I replaced them with cutting them out in vinyl, and then we're going to iron them on. So you'll just need to grab your weeding tool to weed any of your iron-on pieces. Here is one that I have not finished weeding yet, and I'm just going to pull out the vinyl that I don't want to reveal this eye shape. So this green piece is where we're going to add our heat transfer vinyl over. So I'm going to line it up and place it straight down. I have my Easy Press Mini set to the medium setting, but Cricut also has heat guides that can help with that if you're unfamiliar. And I'm just going to press for about 20 seconds or so. And of course you're going to repeat this with all the little details. For example, these whiskers will go on top of the white here that is going to go on the front of the pumpkin face. And same thing with the ears. You can add the pink heat transfer vinyl over the top of the ears, and I also have a little brown piece here that I did in heat transfer vinyl. So a great way to add the details in on top of the felt. And you would repeat the same process with the ear. So I have my vinyl weeded for the ear here, and I started with the brown first. And then of course you can layer your pink for the ears on top of that brown, and just really make it your own here. And for things like the nose, I wanted to add just a tiny bit of detail, so I cut out some little contours for the nose in black to add some contrast. Also, with your animals, you'll want to think about your layering process. So there's a few pieces of felt that I did cut out in a way that I'm going to layer, like this sort of mouthpiece for the fox here. So I'm going to kind of place that there before I add the whiskers, just to make sure that I'm placing them in perspective with where I want them to go. Okay, so there is his little mouth, and we could add the nose right over the top there. I'm layering my felt here for my fox tail, and you would follow suit with any of the other animals as well. Now, I like to add some rosettes to my little woodland animal pumpkins here, and I have the templates included with this set. And to make the rosette, you're going to cut it out in felt to match the texture of the fabric we're already using here for the animals. And starting with the thinnest side, you'll just begin rolling it up. And you will just roll all the way to the end. And at the very end, we will fasten it with some hot glue. And this is optional, and depending on your preference of how many details you want to add to your woodland animal pumpkins, or if you just don't feel like adding flowers, or you don't like the look of the flowers, you could always put something different. But I really love adding flowers. I think it's just an extra cute detail. It really makes the project look extra adorable. To prep your pumpkins, you're going to want to use your X-Acto knife to cut out the top of the stem so that we can put the smaller pumpkin on top of the larger pumpkin. Make sure you're generous with your hot glue. You don't want it to run over the edge to where you can see it, but you do want to be generous with it, and then just press your pumpkins together. So now I have my pumpkins ready to be decorated, and now all that anticipation, we are ready to start adding our pieces to our pumpkins. I'm going to work on the fox first. Fox is personally my favorite, so I'm going to do that first. I'm going to start with his little chest here, I think. So I guess it's to take her little chest since she's going to be adding flowers in her hair. And I'm just going to use hot glue for this, so I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue and place it. And sort of tuck it just a little bit under that pumpkin so it looks like it's a part of the body. And then let's do the ears and the tail next, because we want to get those attached. Now for this, there's no real trick. I just like to bend it a little bit here and then just add some hot glue. And then if you've stiffened your fabric, it'll stay standing up like we want. You might want to hold it until dry just to make sure that things stay in place for you. And if it's popping forward on you like this, then I recommend putting just a little bit of glue right where you're folding it and holding it back like that for just a second. And then it should stay put for you. And now for the ears, what I'd like to do is I like to grab my scissors and I like to trim a little slit at the bottom like this. Just maybe ½ an inch or so. And then I add a little bit of hot glue to one side and I overlap it. And the reason I do this is because it gives us a good base to glue to the top of our pumpkin. Now I'm going to add on all of my other elements like my fur and eyes and the mouth and everything. Just have fun with it, don't get too serious with it. It's meant to be really fun. I think this is something that you could definitely do with your children. They could help you assemble this at this point here, and they just turn out really cute and adorable. You would follow suit the same way with the raccoon and with your deer as well. You would just add all of your elements on after you've layered your heat transfer vinyl and your felt together. I'm adding on my little rosettes here at the top just to add a little extra punch of color. I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I absolutely love this little idea, and I think it's just an adorable and a way to do something a little different with your pumpkins this fall.